Hey, mamas, and welcome back for another episode with Moms with Moms. Moms offering mom support with moms on microphones. For those of you who are new here, we talk about taboo things in pregnancy, postpartum, and parenthood. And as always, make sure we got our little cup and we're ready to drink because we're about to have a bestie vent session. As you guys can see, I'm still drinking tea. I'm still pretty congested. I have no fever, no sore throat, just a little mild congestion. So, I have Victoria here with me, and Victoria and I have known each other. It's over 10 years.
I know, it's a long time.
Holy crap, we're old. So, Victoria and I went to high school together, and you were a grade under me, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I think we did some sports together too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then we interned together after high school
I
at
was gonna
the
say, didn't
court.
we intern? I knew we
Hmm.
did. I'm like, wait a minute,
Hmm.
I talked to her afterwards. Um, so that was an interesting experience. I definitely
Hmm.
knew after that I did not want to be a lawyer. I don't know
Me
how you
too.
felt.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Uh-huh.
It was a really good experience. Like, I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
just, not for me.
Yep. It was very eye-opening.
That it was. That it was. I knew we had something else. I'm like, I knew I saw her outside of high school, but I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was. I couldn't
Hmm.
remember if it was like Barrick or something substantial. Clearly, it was something more substantial than Barrick. I'm sure I've seen you on Barrick, but okay. So, what are three things that our listeners should know about you before we get started?
Let's see. Well, I'm a mom of three, so I've been through it. 6 years ago is when my youngest was born, or my oldest was born, and then I have a now 1-year-old. All
Oh,
boys,
crazy.
so boy mom all the way. So very interesting being a boy mom. Um, what else? So I'm actually a social worker. I think you're in school for social work too, right? So I
Yep.
graduated last year. So I actually work at our high school as a social worker. So
Shut up.
comes full circle.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Um, and I watch a lot of Bluey because that's what my kids love. So I'm a big Bluey fan.
I have
Planning a
not
Bluey
gotten
birthday
into
party.
Bluey.
So
For which one? The 1-year-old?
for for my 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old, he'll be 4 next week.
Oh.
So
Are you glad that you had all boys, or are you like, I wish I had a girl?
I don't know what I would have done if I had a girl because I'm just so used to boys and like boy things, and I don't know. I think it would have threw me for a whole loop if my second or my third was a girl.
That probably would have, because you've been like, oh crap, what do I do here?
Yeah. So like I'm sad some days that I don't have a girl, but other days I'm like I'm glad they're all boys.
Well, it'll be nice when like they start dating, because then you can get that fix. You don't have to deal with the attitude of a girl
Hmm.
and the fighting back and forth. You can do like, oh, I'm gonna go take your girlfriend shopping,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do this with her because I want to, type of thing. So that'll be nice.
Yeah. And I have nieces too, so that helps fill in that little void of not having my own girl.
Perfect. In my last episode, it was funny. I was talking to the girl, and you're not like me. You're not dramatic. You're very chill. You're very calm, cool, collect. I said to the lady, I said, I
Hmm.
cannot have a girl because I'm enough drama. So you bring in another girl, it's gonna be even more drama. We can't do that here.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's dive into it. Like, I know we talked about a couple of different things, and you said you've had three kids. So you've experienced pregnancy, postpartum, and parenthood basically already for 6 years with these three different kids. Now, when you had your third, life kind of was different for you, and
Oh
things
yeah.
kind of happened that were um, not what you were anticipating. So tell us from like the beginning, like when you knew, let me not even say, tell us why the third was different from your other two.
Okay. So literally as soon as he came out, it was like, he looks really angry, right? Like, I don't know if that's normal, but I know like head shifts and all that stuff can happen, like coming through the canal and all that stuff. So I'm like, we'll just forget about it right now. And like the nurses, nobody said anything anyway. So I was like, I'm not gonna worry about it right now. Like third time mom, like I don't want to worry about the small things if it's a small thing or whatever. And he ended up having like a heart murmur anyway. So I was like more focused on that because that was something they said, oh, he's got this,
Yeah.
like we need to investigate it more. So I was like, okay, let's focus on that. So a couple weeks goes by. I'm still like, still looks a little angry. Like nothing's really changing with this head shape. Like what's going on, right? But I'm still like, I'm not really gonna worry about it too much right now. Like we'll see what happens. I'll give it a month and then I'll like be more concerned. So month comes around, he has his like heart murmur and stuff, like his murmur's fine. So I'm like, oh, there, like I don't have to worry about that now. But I'm
Hmm.
like, but this head, something's wrong with his head shape. Like I don't know what's going on. Right. So I start doing some Googling. And my mom mentioned it too. She's like, doesn't he look a little like a little off to you? Like he looks not quite right. I don't know. So we did some Googling and we found some like possibilities, right? So, and they're like big words. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, I really hope he doesn't have this because I can't even say this word. Um, so we were thinking like it looks like he has craniosynostosis. Like it's where the brain or the skull fuses. There's like I think like seven different kinds. But the kind that he looked like he had was like the metopic, which is one of the more rare ones. So a lot of kids they have it, they'll have like sagittal, which means their skull's like elongated. So it's really noticeable. So like if a doctor didn't notice that, we'd be like, what's going on here? Like, how did you not notice that?
Yeah.
The metopic one comes like the forehead comes to like a triangle. Like from the overhead, like you can see it literally came to a point. I was like, I think this is what he has, right? Um,
But you're
so
not a
he had
doctor, so
Right, I'm not. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Like I was doing some research and whatnot, and it says like surgery is the option to correct it. But there's like all different things which I can get into in a little bit. So I was like, I'll wait till his 2 month appointment since he was already like a little over a month at this point anyway. So I was like, I'll wait till his 2 month appointment and I'll bring it up to the doctor. So that's what I did. So I was like researching and stuff up until then, of course, giving myself tons of anxiety. Like, what am I gonna
mm,
do if he really does have this? And like, oh my gosh, like my third kid, I haven't had anything like this happen with my other kids. So how am I gonna get through this? So I go to the appointment and I bring it up to the doctor, and she's like, I don't know. I don't really see it. Like, how did you come up with this? Like, and I was like, well, to be frank, I Googled it, but I'm still like concerned. And
yeah.
she's like, well, typically when we see these things, like we do like a wait and see approach to see like if there's any issues that come of it, if there's any delays, if the head shape gets worse or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wait. Like, I want to get it checked out and get it confirmed if it is this or not. So I know what my options are and what I can do next, right? Uh, so they ended up referring us to a neurology first. They messed it up. They sent us to a neurologist instead of a neurosurgeon, but we got that sorted out. So when he was about, I want to say like 4 months old, he had his first appointment, literally get into the room with the doctor, and they're like, oh yeah, he's got metopic craniosynostosis. Like 100%. I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes me feel better knowing that like I had it right, right? Um,
Now, the doctor that you went to, was this like the same doctor that you've had for your other two? Or was it
yes,
a different doctor?
same pediatrician, yeah.
So you
And she's
trusted
usually
this
really good,
doctor?
so I don't want to like knock her and say like she's not a good
Yeah.
doctor. She's usually like on top of things, like the heart murmur. She heard his first appointment. She's like, I'm sending you to a cardiologist right now to get that checked out. So I don't want to say like she's terrible or anything. It's just not something I don't think she was familiar with. But
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not waiting and seeing though, because it can cause like a lot of issues. Like it can cause blindness, it can cause developmental delays, cranial pressure, so like the brain, like really bad headaches and stuff. Like there's so many things
Yeah.
that can come from it. So I'm like, I don't want to wait for my kid to like experience those things and then be like, why didn't I do anything about it? Um, so yeah, so 4 months old, he had his CT scan. They confirmed it. And there was a few different options too for the craniosynostosis, like surgery wise. I'm sorry, my dog's going crazy because my husband just got home.
You're fine.
So there's a couple different options. So he went to Syracuse, which was just the closest for us for where we live. And when doing the research, there's like two different options for surgery. So there's the endoscopic, where since his head goes to a triangle, they would literally just take out that point, and then he would have to wear a helmet for like up to a year or so. Syracuse doesn't do that surgery though. So if we were going to do that, we would have had to go to like Boston or Albany or Rochester or whatever. And typically doctors only want to do it until 4 months old. So it's like a really like beginning surgery. But I was like doing the research and I'm like, do I want to make him wear a helmet for a year? Do I want to have to go back and forth, do all those appointments? There's a chance that the surgery won't work, that it won't correct the head shape and whatnot. And with the metopic, the eyes are close together. And sometimes it corrects the eyes with the helmet, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm like, sometimes kids need a second surgery anyway. So I'm like, I'd rather not have to go through all of that when I'm already stressed out enough with everything that's going on anyway. So the second surgery, the one that we ended up going with, they usually do it after 6 months. So between 6 months and a year. Our doctors did it like right at the 6 month mark anyway.
Oh, good.
He was like 6.5 months, I think, when they scheduled it. So that one they do like a full, like, take the skull, like zigzag, open the skull, take it apart, like cut it and stuff, and like
Yeah.
totally reconstruct it, and then stitch him back up and whatnot. Um, so that's the one that we ended up going with, and like reading on it, I'm like, this is gonna be so scary, so like stressful to be in the hospital with them and like watch him go
Yeah.
through this because I joined a couple support groups after like I got the confirmation that he had the diagnosis. I'm like, I need to know what we're getting into with all this. So it was just so nice to have all these people that have gone through like the same exact thing as you and being like, I can ask questions or I can just like look at pictures so I know what to expect. And I think that helped a lot in the end. So yeah, so 6 months old, he had the surgery. Actually, today I was looking at the calendar, I was like, oh, it's 6 months post surgery today. How funny. Um,
That is really funny.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So the night before surgery, we stayed at the Ronald McDonald House, which was like really nice to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to like drive to Syracuse at 5 o'clock in the morning because he had to be there, I think, by like 6:30 or 7 or something. So I was like, that wouldn't have been fun. And he had to fast, so I couldn't breastfeed him after like I think it was like midnight or something. So I was like, I really hope he sleeps all night because I don't want to have to like be like, sorry, buddy, I can't feed you, you know. So I was not excited about that, but thankfully he slept all night. He was a little cranky when he woke up because I couldn't give him boob. So he was like, what's
Yeah.
going on? I'm used to this. Like, what the heck? Packed up, brought him to the hospital. They did like all the testing and stuff they had to do, checked him out. It was really hard when they took him away, though. I was like about to cry. I'm like, my baby. They're
Oh,
like strolling him away. And he didn't want to leave me, and he was like already sad and everything. And I was like, oh, this is so hard. And then just the waiting. The waiting was so hard. Like in the waiting room. I think his surgery in total, like they took him back at like 8 or 8:30, and he wasn't done until 4:30. So that whole
shut
time,
up.
yeah, the whole time we're in the waiting room, like every hour they will call us and give us an update. And I'm like panicking every time. I'm like, I hope this is a good update. I hope this is a good update.
Wait a
And I had to
minute.
pump
So
too.
you gave your baby away at 8:30 in the
Hmm.
morning for
Yeah.
this intensive surgery to not have your baby back till 4:30. I would be going nuts.
Yeah, it was not fun. Thankfully, my mom and my mother-in-law came to like hang out with
Oh,
us in the
good.
waiting room. So we like played board games and talked and stuff. So it helped it go by a little bit better. But I was stressed that whole time. Like I was probably shaking the whole time, just being
And
like, I really hope he's good.
I know before I interrupted you rudely, you said you had a pump too. Were you
Yeah.
pumping before or were you just exclusively breastfeeding?
I was pretty much exclusive breastfeeding, except for like when I was at work, I'd have to pump. Um,
Yep.
but I produce a lot. So I like every 2 hours I had to go pump during the day. And thankfully, like they were really good about it. They stored it all, so I was able to take it home at the end.
Oh,
Um,
good.
but it was like not fun. Like I'm like, I hope they don't call me when I'm in a pump session here.
Yeah.
Like I had to go in one of the rooms and like lock myself in there because they didn't have a spot like on that floor. And I was like, I don't want to go all the way up to like whatever floor it was for the pumping room. I was like, I'd rather just be here in case anything happens. Um, and then so 7, 8 hours later, they call us and say, "Oh, he's good. He's in recovery. Like he did well." When they have the CVR surgery, that's what it's called, cranial vault reconstruction. They usually need like a blood transfusion and stuff. So all that stuff happened. We're like, okay, we're ready to see him. They brought us up to the PICU when we were like with him. But oh my gosh, seeing him for the first time after that, it was like heartbroken. It was like my poor baby. Like I just want to hold you and snuggle you. He was like knocked out cold anyway, so like he wasn't
Yeah.
with it, but he had his head all bandaged up, his eyes were like swollen. Oh, he didn't even look like my kid. I was like, "Are you sure this is my baby? He doesn't even look
You
like
didn't switch my
it."
baby?
Yeah. Um, so he was in the PICU for one night. As soon as he woke up, he was like screaming, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," because the pain and everything. So they gave him morphine, and he just wanted to nurse, literally. for hours, hours,
Yeah.
hours. So I literally like snuggled him the whole time that I was in the hospital with him because that's all he wanted. And I get it. I would want that too. Like,
Well,
so that
it's
was
the
pretty much my
comfort.
hospital stay. Yeah. And he didn't want to sleep, like in the crib on his own, but I was like, Mom needs some sleep, right? Like, I need a little bit of sleep, buddy. Give me a couple hours. But the nurses were amazing anyway. And like they gave him the meds as he needed him and helped me get him into my arms because he was all hooked up to cords in the PICU. I'm like, I don't want to touch it because I don't want to disconnect anything. Um,
Yeah.
so that was a little bit of a struggle. And I had like a male nurse for the whole night shift. And like he saw a little bit more than he probably wanted to, but, but he was great. So they were all great. Then the next day he went down to just the general floor and he was there, I think like 3 days total, and we got to go home.
Oh,
He was
wow.
great. Like recovery was fine. Like I was all worried. Like can't let him hit his head or anything because of course when he had it, he was like starting to get ready to crawl and sit up and everything. I was like, of course you are. So
This
it
is
was
perfect
like
timing.
protect the head, protect the head. But he healed really, really well. Like no issues or anything. He's had all great follow-ups and whatnot. Like no other issues have come of it. So like we're at the other side and I'm like, oh, it's over, thankfully. Like he gets follow-ups with the plastic surgeon and whatnot for like a few years just to make sure like he's good and whatnot. Um,
Oh, good.
and there's some like possibility he might need a second surgery if it ever like went back to the way it was, but it doesn't look like it's going to. Or sometimes they have to like fill in where the bone doesn't grow back. Um, but hopefully nothing too major. Like it's been pretty smooth, fingers crossed since then. And he has his like next follow up next month, but he's been doing great. So I'm glad like we're on the other side of things.
So, I know you had like all the different options of what you could do. If you would have to go back and do it again, would you still make the same decision that you made? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like thinking back on it, and I was like, if I did the endoscopic surgery and he would have still probably been in a helmet right now. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I could have done that. Like, I just love like snuggling him, give him kisses on his head, just like in general. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And the helmet, they wear like 23 hours a day. And I'm like, there's no way I can have my kid's head for one for a day. So it was like a little selfish on my part, I will say. Like, it was more reasons for me than for him, but too like I just didn't want to risk having to have the second surgery like even more than we would with this one that we did go through.
Well, and they say when they're that young, they're more resilient to like
Oh
pain
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I think doing it younger is probably better because he's not going to remember he had to have a surgery. He's
Nope.
going to have no clue.
Nope. Other than like the little scar, but like you can barely see it anyway because his hair covers it. So
So he'll be golden. It'll be a cool scar when he decides to shave his head. He can be
oh
like, yeah,
yeah.
I had a cool surgery when I was little, guys.
I've seen some kids like the parents will post their pictures in the group and it looks so cute. Like it's so strange to think that like a scar looks cute, but it does. Like the way they cut the hair off. Like if you want to show it off, but feel free.
That's your choice, yeah.
Hmm.
So does he didn't have to wear a helmet at all then, right? Because he had the surgery.
Yeah.
That's
So
really
he's like
nice.
good. Like after the surgery, they just do the follow up and then basically just charge him and say he's good to go.
Oh,
And like realistically, he's supposed to be able to do anything a normal kid could do. So like playing sports and whatnot. Um, the mom side of me that was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I could let him play football or anything like super high contact, but I'm like, if the doctors say it's okay though, you really want to, I guess. But I'm just gonna be in panic mode the whole time.
well, yeah. I mean, that's scary.
Hmm.
Like, what could happen? Like, what are the potential dangers of this? Like, what are the negative side effects? Like, if he were to play football and hit his head.
So I mean,
Bad.
really, like same thing with like any kid, I guess. Like you could get
Okay.
like concussions and whatnot. It's just sometimes depending on how the bone grows back, like if it doesn't fill in as much as it could be, it just could be more prone to like side effects that any kid could get from playing like high contact sports.
So
Um,
not really too much of a difference. Just the mom you is a little bit more nervous than
yeah,
with your other
yeah.
two kids.
Hmm.
So how did your other two respond? Because it was your youngest. So they probably like
Yeah.
saw all of it and they're a
The
little bit
whole
older.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're older
So
too. They can see these things.
hmm so like from the moment we found out that he was gonna have to have the surgery, we kind of like prepared the kids, right? Like, okay, like
Yeah.
Henry, we're gonna go away for a few days, and Henry's gonna come back. It's gonna look a little different, and like we gotta be careful with his head and stuff, because he's having a big surgery, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And then still to this day, my 6-year-old asks me, he's like, did I ever have a surgery like Henry did when I was a baby? And I was like, nope, just Henry. Henry's the only one that had to have surgery. And he's like, oh, okay. So they're like, whatever. It was hard though because they wanted to love on him like as soon as we got home. And we're like, guys, you got to give him some space. Like he's got to heal.
Yeah.
Like he might be his happy self because he was like they do bounce back literally. Like in the hospital, he was fine after like 2 days. A little bit like he was a little off still, but he was like, get me out of this place. I'm ready to go home. Let's
Yeah.
go. um, but like the hardest part I think for him probably was that he couldn't see for like a good week because the eyes swell up from them like messing with all the stuff.
Oh,
So like he
well,
couldn't
yeah.
see like anything. So like in the group I was like, what do I bring with me to like make him feel like he's home? Because obviously he's gonna be in the hospital for like 3, 4 days. He's not gonna know what's going on. He can't see anything.
Yeah.
Um, so I brought like his favorite toys and stuff, and he was like fine with that. But I was like, I can't imagine going like a week or so and just not being able to see anything. Like what's going on around me.
Right? Like, and I feel, I mean, again, I guess it's better that he is so little because he can't really, like, I mean, it's not like they can see that far anyway. Sorry,
Right,
little
yeah.
6-month-old babies, like your vision is really not that great. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I guess I mean it's probably just like, oh crap, I'm a baby now. I'm back to being a newborn where I can't see shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very it's very interesting. Like you talk about it too, like so freely and so okay. I couldn't imagine going through that. Like you seem like, yep, I did this. It's good. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's great. Like you're like, yep,
Yeah.
I'm cool.
In
And
the
obviously,
moment though, I was definitely not okay. My mom would text
like,
me like every 2 days, like, are you sure you're good? Like, this is a lot to take in.
well,
Like,
yeah,
yeah. Like I had my moments. Like I definitely had a few cries. Like, was it something that I did? Because there's really no known cause for this. There's some like genetic stuff, but we haven't had the genetic testing yet because it's like 3 years backlogged. But there's no other symptoms or anything that would like make me think it's a genetic thing, and nobody else in our family has ever had anything like it. But
yeah,
there's like so many things that people think like, oh, this might cause it, like the mom being too small. I'm like, I'm small, like compared to
you
like
are.
the average person, right? So I'm like, was it me? But then I'm like, I had two other kids though, and nothing happened to them. But he was my biggest, so I'm like, maybe it was just like he ran out of room in there. I don't know. uh, or it could be like if you took sometimes take certain medication. Like somebody posted the other day, like, oh, I saw a trial, like if you took Benadryl during your pregnancy, like it could cause this. Not that I took any, but I'm like, it could have literally been anything. But it's just like that mom guilt. Like, was it something that I did? Could this have been prevented? And I gotta
Mm-hmm.
remind myself, like, there's literally no known cause for this. So
No, and like you said, like it didn't happen to the other two. So if it
mhm.
was something that was essentially your fault, which obviously it's not, but like you can't help that your body's too small. That's not your problem. That's not your
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
Blame nature. It's nature's
Hmm.
fault. But it didn't happen to the other two. So I don't feel like it's even no, that's
Yeah.
done. You can't.
Yeah.
Don't blame yourself at all. No. Wow. So with the support groups, how many did you join? I'm sure you probably try to find as many as possible.
I joined, so I only joined a couple. So I joined, like, there's one that's literally just like every kid, like, if you had craniosynostosis, you can join this group. Like, we're a support group. I think there's like 22,000 or more people in that group.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, because it's run by like an actual like craniosynostosis like organization, and they post a lot of information and stuff. And they also had a group that was like just metopic craniosynostosis. So like I could go through that group. Like I never really posted, I don't think I posted any questions in the group, but it was a lot of like searching and just like
Yeah.
reading and just knowing that there's people out there. Like if I do need somebody to talk to, like there's thousands of people that have been through the same thing. Um, so like, and I do that for like anything going on. Like, there must be a Facebook group for this. I'm gonna look at it and see what I can find. So those were a couple of good ones that like I joined, and they've definitely been helpful. Even still, like I still look at the stuff
Yeah.
on there. So I'm like, I don't know what the road ahead looks like because there could still be something that pops up down the road that could be related to his diagnosis. But it's just nice, and like also. I offer support to other parents that are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Like if it's something that I went through myself, I can comment on that post and be like, hey, this is what I did in the situation or whatever. So it's nice to be able to have that
To give
community.
back. Yeah.
It's a separate Facebook page called the Cranial Care Bears. And they will like you just have to request the package if your son or daughter or whatever is having surgery. You say like this is their surgery date, this is the hospital, this is how old they are, and they'll send you a care package. So
Mhm.
I wish I had some of it with me. I'd show you. But so they send you like for mom or dad, like shampoo, like Tylenol, chapstick, whatever you might need in the hospital, and then like some toys and stuff for the baby. They gave us a zip up sleeper because with the head
Oh,
the way it was, like there was no like you're not going to be able to pull clothes or do anything. So he was in sleepers for a lot, for a while after that because I was like I don't want to touch his head. I'm worried like as it is like I had to like clean it and whatever, but I didn't want to touch it like if I didn't have to. So they sent like a sleeper. They sent so their cute little bear logo. They gave us like a crinkly toy, which I'm like gonna put in his keepsake box for like ever because it's
yeah.
so cute. And I'm like, this is just like a nice reminder. And then like you have the option to get like a prayer chain if you want, if you're like religious or whatever, to hang like over the crib in the hospital. So like they do that for free, or like you can pay $6 and get like more stuff, which I did because I was like, I'll pay $6. It goes to you guys
Six
anyway,
dollars.
whatever.
Yeah.
And they also do a walk. So we did the walk, and I think we did it in October. It's like a virtual 5K to like raise money for them to be able to send care packages out to everybody. So we did that. Um, and that was a lot of fun. They give you medals and stuff. So it's like a great group just to
Oh,
support kids that have to go through that and just to get a little something nice in the mail. Where like we got
yeah.
it literally the day we were leaving to go out to Syracuse. So it was like, oh great, like a nice
That's
little like
perfect.
send off to go bring him for his surgery. So
Oh,
um
I love that. That's really
yeah.
nice. What are like three things that you wish you knew or you would want to tell another mom that's going through the same exact situation that you went through?
The first thing I would say is be your baby's advocate. Like we're the voice for our kids. And like I'm a quiet, reserved person. I don't usually speak up about things. Like that's not my nature. But I'm like, if you're
No.
gonna tell me we're gonna wait and see about my kid, like no, we're not having that. Like Mama Bear came out, like, no, give me the referral. So definitely being your kid's voice and being your own voice too. Like if you need something, like I had days where I reached out to my mom and said, like, I need to talk. Like I I have a lot going on in my head with what's going on. So
Yeah.
like let's talk. So just like using your own supports too. Joining groups. Like if your kid has a medical diagnosis, I guarantee you there's a group for that. Um, there's so many groups out there. Uh,
There
and one
are.
other thing is don't be hard on yourself. Don't put the guilt on you because it's not your fault at the end of the day.
And I think you made like the right choice. Like just hearing the things that could have happened and the things that if you didn't do this one, like this is what could be a result of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for your family, you made the right choice. I mean, obviously, I don't want to. If anybody's listening to this and like they've done a different route and they've had a kid who's had the same diagnosis, I'm not saying that your choice was wrong, but for your standpoint and your feelings and your family, it sounds like you made the best choice,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously means you're a great mom. So kudos to you. And like you said, I've never known you someone to speak up about something, like even if something like a teacher you don't disagree, like you disagree with a teacher, like you accept it, you accept it the
Mm-hmm.
way it is, and you are a quiet person. So the fact that you stood your ground and you said no, like you are doing this referral for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really cool to see like that mom side of you. And like you put your son first and you said
Yeah.
no, this is what I want. And it probably was like reassuring that you weren't crazy, that you were
Yeah.
correct.
Oh yeah. It was like so refreshing to go into that neurosurgeon appointment and the doctor literally looks at me. She's like, yeah, like this is it. You're right. And she's like, you knew that all by yourself. I'm like, yeah, I did. It was just
It's
so
so
validating to know like I wasn't going
yes.
crazy all these months. Like my kid, not that I wanted something to be wrong with him, but like knowing that like
No,
I wasn't going
something was wrong.
crazy. Yeah.
Do you think that if this happened to your first, do you think you would have had as much knowledge and done as much work of researching and stuff as you did? Because with your first, I mean, you don't know what's normal and what's not.
I feel like I would have been worse. Like I would have been Googling from the second he was born. Like, why does my kid's head look like this? Because that's how I was as a first time mom. I was like every little thing. I'm like, I need to know what's going on. And I think like by the second I was like, okay, like I know kind of what to expect, and like I'm not gonna rush to the hospital for something that I can handle at home or I can call the doctor for, because I did that a lot with my first. It was like, well, ER, we're going to the ER. I don't know what's going on. And then he just threw me for a whirlwind with the third, because I was like, oh, I got this. Like, I can be a laid back mom. Like, I know what I'm doing by now. And then I'm like, no, not right. Something's not right here.
You're right. Wait a minute. Here comes the Googling. That's funny. In your like story, like you didn't listen to your doctor and you're like, no, 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 no. Still give me that referral.
Yeah, and that happens so much. Like reading the stories in that group, like so many doctors kind of brush it off and like there's nothing wrong with your kid. And the parent has to be like, no, like I need you to look into this, please. So it's not
I
like
wonder
it's something
why.
that happens a lot. Hmm.
I wonder why it's like that way.
I think it's just not a well-known, like it's pretty rare. Like I think it's 1 in 2,000 kids are born with it.
Oh,
So it's like a more rare thing. Um, which is
yeah.
funny though, because I've met in person two people that have it. Like, yeah. So I actually over the summer when he was still like he still had the fresh scar and everything, and me and my mom and the other kids were at like we go to the farm days in the summer. So we were at one of the farms, and this mom comes up to me and she's like, "Does your son have craniosynostosis?" And I was like, yeah, why? And she's like, my daughter has it. And she's like, she's got the zigzag scar and everything. And I was like, how funny. Like literally a couple weeks after he had his surgery, and I already met somebody else like in person. And my husband went to school with somebody that had the surgery. And one of my cousins actually, like one of her daughters had the surgery as a kid. So it was like it's rare, but it's so funny to know like other
And there's
people
that
have
many
had it,
people.
like not the same type as him, but still craniosynostosis.
I feel like that's something that should probably like maybe just from what you said is like maybe pediatricians should do more research and have like a specific training on
Hmm.
to sit there and be like, okay, like this is the potential of what it could be. I'm going to give you a referral no matter what, because it would just, I don't know, I think it would save a lot of anxiety for a lot of
Hmm.
parents who are like, I think this is what they have. And then they could
Yeah,
go get that referral and be told yes or no.
right.
So,
Or the parents that don't know any better at all, like they don't recognize that there's something wrong with the head shape, and it just
yeah.
gets unnoticed until they're like 1, 2, and like they're starting to have these issues. And then they might get that referral just to see if there's anything neurologically going on. And then they're like, oh yeah, you have craniosynostosis. And then by
I
that point,
couldn't
the poor kid
imagine.
like knows like to have that surgery. Like I can't imagine being an older kid having that surgery.
I was gonna say, imagine like a 1 year old or a 2 year old having that surgery and going through that.
Mm-mm.
They aren't mellow. I mean, not that 6 month olds are mellow, but they're usually pretty more chill.
Yeah.
And I could just picture like a 1 year old or a 2 year old going off the rocker. Like they're gonna be
Hmm.
so annoyed sitting in this little spot and not
Yeah.
having to go anywhere for 3 days.
Hmm.
Oh my no. And the
And not
pain, the
being able to see on top of that, because like they're really gonna notice like not having their eyesight for a week or so.
oh god, it's not funny. We shouldn't be
No,
laughing
it's
through
not.
this. This
I'm
is our
just
trauma.
glad I wasn't in that position. Like, let's do the surgery as early as possible. So like easier, easier.
Well, and that's it's interesting too because I bet you there's probably some parents who are like, yeah, no, I want to wait and see if it
Hmm.
happens. And again, that's fine if that's your choice. I don't know if I could wait. I think I'm with you. I think I would have to do it ASAP. I can't. I can't. I can't imagine like knowing that there's something wrong with your kid and your
Yeah.
doctor being like, no, 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 no. I'm not worried. Okay, but I
Hmm.
am.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm the mom. I am. So you're gonna do this.
Hmm.
That's funny. Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us. I don't. Do you have anything to drink? Do you have a water bottle or
A
anything right
hell of
next to you?
water. A little
Okay.
water. I was gonna have my like actual tumbler, but my son, we had a thing at the school earlier, and they give him like a snack in a water bottle, and I'm like, I'm stealing that water bottle because I'm gonna be thirsty after talking for an hour. So
Well, let's cheers with your little kitty water. Cheers. Hashtag mom life right there is like true fashion.
yes, fruit
Thank you again for
snacks,
joining us.
pouches. I don't care.
Mhm. crust of the sandwiches.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm keeping you over the
No,
hour.
it's okay.
Go to
It's nice to
go to
have a mom vent session anyways. So.
which is perfect. This is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, mamas, if you like this episode and you want to see more, subscribe and hit the like button. If you have any questions or you're not really familiar with this diagnosis, hit the comments below and I'll get as much information for you as I possibly can. Or if you want to follow anything related to postpartum, pregnancy, or parenthood, my Instagram and my Facebook are right here. And if you just want a TikTok full of my daily life and basically my journal and diary, my TikTok is right here. And also, if you want to be on the show, please reach out into my emails or DM me on Facebook or Instagram or really anything. I am open to having anybody on. And if you have a story to share and you want to connect with another mom, please reach out. As always, mamas, I hope you survive and thrive because that's moms, that's what we do. See you next week. Bye, besties.